Hello. Are you ready to learn about SpaceX? It's a really cool company that sends things up into space. Let's blast off and explore what SpaceX is all about. First off, SpaceX is a company that builds rockets. Not just any rockets, but really big rockets that can go all the way up into space. Have you ever seen a rocket launch? It's like a big firework that shoots up into the sky. SpaceX launches rockets all the time, and they're really good at it. One of the reasons SpaceX is so cool is that they reuse their rockets. Imagine if you could reuse your toy rocket every time you wanted to launch it. That's what SpaceX does with their big rockets. Another thing SpaceX does is send stuff up to space. Sometimes it's important stuff like satellites that help us communicate with each other, and sometimes it's fun stuff like a car that will send to orbit around the sun. SpaceX also wants to send people up to space. That's right, people. They're working on building a rocket that can take people to space, and one day maybe you can go to space too. Do you know what a space station is? It's like a big house in space where people can live and do experiments. SpaceX has sent a lot of supplies to the International Space Station, which is a big space station that orbits around the Earth. Sometimes when SpaceX launches a rocket, they try to land it back on Earth. It's like catching a ball that you throw really high up in the air. They're really good at it too. SpaceX is also working on building a really big rocket that can go all the way to Mars. That's a planet that's really far away from Earth, but maybe one day we can go there and explore it. When SpaceX sends something up into space, they have to make sure it doesn't get too hot or too cold. That's why they use special materials to protect it, like a really strong winter coat. One of the things that makes SpaceX different from other rocket companies is that they're really good at making things cheaper. That means they can send more stuff up into space for less money. SpaceX was started by a really smart guy named Elon Musk. He wanted to make space travel more affordable and accessible for everyone. Elon Musk is kind of like a superhero inventor. He started other cool companies like Tesla, which makes electric cars, and he also helped create PayPal, which is a way to pay for things online. Elon Musk had this really big dream to make space travel a reality for regular people, not just astronauts. He wanted to build rockets that could go to space and come back to Earth and be reused. He started SpaceX in 2002 with a team of really smart people who shared his dream of making space travel more accessible. The first rocket that SpaceX built was called the Falcon 1. It was a really small rocket compared to the ones they build now, but it was a big step towards their goal of making space travel more affordable. The rockets that SpaceX builds are really big and powerful. In fact, they're some of the biggest rockets in the world. The biggest rocket that SpaceX has built so far is called the Falcon Heavy. It's about 70 meters tall, which is about as tall as a 20-story building. The Falcon Heavy has 3 boosters, which are the parts of the rocket that help it take off. When all 3 boosters are firing, the Falcon Heavy can generate more than 5 million pounds of thrust. That's like having 18 Boeing 747 airplanes all taking off at once. The Falcon Heavy is also really heavy. When it's fully fueled and ready to launch, it weighs about 1.4 million kilograms. That's like having more than 250 elephants all in one place. But, the Falcon Heavy isn't the only big rocket that SpaceX has built. They also have a rocket called the Falcon 9, which is a little smaller than the Falcon Heavy, but still really big. The Falcon 9 is about 50 meters tall, which is still taller than most buildings. It has 1 booster, and when it's firing, it can generate more than 1.7 million pounds of thrust. SpaceX had a lot of challenges at first. Rockets are really hard to build and launch without anything going wrong. When SpaceX sends something up into space, they have to make sure it's going in the right direction. They use a computer to help steer the rocket. Sometimes things go wrong when you're launching a rocket. That's why SpaceX has a team of really smart people who work together to make sure everything goes smoothly. They kept working hard and learning from their mistakes. In 2008, SpaceX finally launched its first rocket into orbit. It was a big moment for them and for space travel. They proved that it was possible to build a rocket that could go to space and come back to Earth and be reused. After that, SpaceX started getting a lot of attention from people who were excited about their mission to make space travel more affordable and accessible. Now, SpaceX launches rockets all the time and sends things like satellites and supplies to the International Space Station. They're also working on building a rocket that can take people to space. One time, SpaceX sent a car into space. It was a Tesla car. The car is orbiting around the sun right now, and it has a little astronaut inside of it. It's been a long journey for SpaceX, but they've come a long way since their early days. Elon Musk and his team of brilliant engineers and scientists are always pushing the boundaries of what's possible in space travel. Last but not least, SpaceX is always looking for new and exciting ways to explore space. Who knows what they'll discover next? Maybe they'll find aliens. Or maybe they'll find a planet made entirely out of candy. Anything is possible when you're exploring space with SpaceX.